planning this for years.
Yeah! Let's do it.
Struggle, 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 struggle. My prayers, my prayers, my prayers, my prayers. Don't let them rent space inside your mind, 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 mind. Don't let them rent space inside your mind, mind, mind. Struggle, 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 struggle. My prayers, my prayers, my prayers, my prayers. Don't let them rent space inside your mind, mind, mind. Don't let them rent space inside your mind, mind, mind. Why we fight you? 'Cause you wanna control us. 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 Struggle, 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 struggle. My prayers, my prayers, my prayers, my prayers. Don't let them rent space inside your mind, 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 mind. Don't let them rent space inside your mind, mind, mind. Why we fight you? 'Cause you wanna control us. 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 Control us. Control us. Control us. We are savages. We are savages. No food, no water. Y'all do, yeah, holler. So what? Like one here, like one here, like one here. What? Good more. Good for, good for, good for. Over, over, over. Good for, good for, good for. Why did Homeland Security write 2 million bullets? What are they preparing for? What are they preparing for? And why aren't we ready? While the war flows forward now, obey, obey, obey. Good for, good for, good for. Obey, obey, obey. Good for, good for, good for. Why am I the only one looking? Why am I the only one talking? Why am I the only one standing? While the war flows for you. Obey, obey, obey. Good for, good for, good for. Obey, obey, obey. Good for, good for, good for. Why am I the only one looking? Why am I the only one standing? Why am I the only one talking? While the war flows around, obey, obey, obey. Good for, good for, good for. Obey, obey, obey. Good for, good for, good for. They've been planning this for years. Don't let them miss space inside your mind. Why we fight you? Can't you wanna control us? 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 Why did Homeland Security buy 2 million bullets? What are they preparing for? What are they preparing for? And why aren't we ready? While the war goes on, Good for
Welcome to the Lady Lacey Show. I am Lady Lacey. And we're having a little conversation in the chat. I'm a little older than what I look. Just that much. Just that much older. And anyway, so here you go. We're talking about Agents of Satan. Hello. And it cut off on me last time, so I'm going to start a little bit. Here we go. Well, it's not. They want to see. Okay. Well, let's let them. People were upset they couldn't see the chat that happened that night. Friday's preacher, he's talking. So I'll leave that up. Here you go.
Programming so that I could carry out various operations during the Reagan-Bush administration. I endured numerous occult rituals after that. Wayne Cox at that time was working directly under the direction of Louisiana Senator J. Bennett Johnston, and he took me to his hometown in Chatham, Louisiana. J. Bennett Johnston at that time was heavily involved in mind control operations because he was running a band of mercenaries out of Louisiana. At that time, this band of mercenaries were going in and out of South America. There was a lot of arms deals going on. There was, and most importantly, when the airplanes would fly these guys down to South America, they would come back full of cocaine, which was being distributed on our streets. Wayne Cox was triggering these mercenaries into operation by showing them a severed hand from another one of his victims, which re-traumatized them into the occult ritual that they had already endured and accessed a specific compartment of their brain. And he told them that J. Bennett Johnston wanted them to give him a hand and carry out a certain operation. He would then give the instructions and the guys would follow him through. So J. Bennett Johnston was heavily involved. At that time, it was 1978, and it was determined that I had endured sufficient trauma to carry out my first trial run operation. An enormous quantity of cocaine had been flown in on one of these operations, and I was to deliver it into the neighboring state of Arkansas. By that time, Bill Clinton's drug operation was in full swing. He was governor of Arkansas, and I delivered this cocaine to a remote airport in Ouachita Forest, which I've since identified as Mena Airport. I also delivered a little packet of information and a small quantity of cocaine, a personal stash from J. Bennett Johnston, to Bill Clinton. I delivered it to Bill Clinton, and he cut out 2 lines of the coke, and he did inhale. That certainly wasn't the only time I saw Bill Clinton using cocaine. My sexual experience with Bill Clinton was extremely limited, in spite of the fact that I was a sex slave. It was my experience that Bill Clinton is bisexual, leaning far more towards a homosexual end. All I've ever seen him involved in was the homosexual activity, with very limited experience with him myself. Whereas my experience was much more prevalent with Hillary Clinton, because Hillary is also bisexual, leaning more towards a homosexual end, and it was she who accessed my sex programming to fulfill her perversions. Around the same time, J. Bennett Johnston subjected me to some other mind manipulation that involved, instead of an occult theme, an alien theme. Now these guys who are manipulating my mind and programming me for mind control purposes claim, and these criminals in control of our country as well, claim to be gods, demons, and aliens, in order that I feel totally helpless. or that I felt like they were beyond my realm to affect. And it certainly worked at that time. J. Bennett Johnston told me that he was an alien. He told me that he had been part of the Philadelphia experiment, and when the ship disappeared, it came back a spaceship. This is in keeping with kind of an air-water mirror theme that NASA uses quite frequently, a reversal, because again, the subconscious mind doesn't have any reasoning capacity. J. Bennett Johnston then showed me his office at General Dynamics, a then top secret stealth. Here was this triangular stealth that wasn't in any of the school books, wasn't being talked about anywhere, wasn't out in the newspapers or anything else. It was being withheld. It was still a top secret weapon system. But I saw this triangular stealth. It looked like a spaceship to me. I'd never seen anything like that. And everything that J. Bennett Johnston was doing and he was involved in certainly was alien to me. So it was easy for me to accept the idea that what was happening was in fact being perpetrated by aliens. I'm not saying that there's no such thing as aliens. That would be foolish of me to even say anything like that at all. But what I am saying is that it was my experience that these were people claiming to be aliens. If there's a reality out there pertaining to any alien influence, we need to sort out the government misinformation and disinformation and mind manipulation techniques that they're using. I know for a fact that the plan is to make all of us feel totally helpless, that what's happening is beyond our realm to affect because we've been taken over by aliens, that our Independence Day is dawning. So beware of that. Understand that those criminals have been keeping information.
Independence Day is dawning.
And technology from us under the blanket of national security. They are 25 years ahead of us, at least technologically. Can you imagine what they've got now? 25 years ahead. What's happened that you're aware of in the last 25 years? Microwave ovens, we've got computerization, and they've had access to all of that to continue their own advancements. They're way ahead. So when they say, it's aliens, and they show us some incredible technology, don't fall into the trap of feeling totally helpless, that this is beyond our realm to affect. Superstition begins where knowledge leaves off. And they have been keeping knowledge from us for a long time. People have all kinds of belief systems. And I'm sure each and every one of you has various and different belief systems as well. Regardless of what your belief system is, it is imperative that you know that these criminals are people. They are within our realm to affect. They need to be held accountable for their actions and their crimes against humanity. It was 1980 and my daughter Kelly was born. She was born directly into...
She was making, back then it was all about Bill Clinton, and he said he tried marijuana, but he didn't inhale. So she was just trying to break up the ice with a joke because she was still talking about Bill Clinton. We all know he snorted it, not inhaled it. I mean, she's just a joke.
To the MK Ultra Mind Control Project on a much higher level, a more sophisticated technological level than I was subjected to. In addition to trauma, she was subjected to harmonic mind control programming on NASA installations literally since birth, before her brain even had a chance to form. As soon as Kelly was born, Senator Byrd figured I'd been traumatized enough by that time and ordered that we be transferred back to Nashville, Tennessee to carry out operations during the Reagan administration. But being within the country music industry, we had a second handler. His name was Alex Houston. Alex Houston is a ventriloquist, stage hypnotist in the country music industry. Above all, he carries out criminal covert CIA operations that fund the black budget. And this certainly included bringing in large quantities of cocaine and distributing them through the United States, Canada. He was working at that time and provided a cover for me to be taken throughout the United States, Canada, Mexico, and the Caribbean for these criminal covert operations. As my handler, he took me to various military and NASA installations for mind control programming for specific operations that I was forced to participate in. These operations that I won't have time to get into tonight are detailed in our book, Transformation of America. And they involve such leaders as the president of Mexico at that time, De La Madrid, and Vice President Salinas. It was my experience that in 1984, there's a CIA trauma base, near-death trauma center that's located in Lampe, Missouri. It's called the Swiss Villa Amphitheater. And they bring certain involved country music acts in to bring large quantities of cocaine or bring the cocaine out for distribution, because Lampe, Missouri is just across the Arkansas line and is very much a part of Bill Clinton's cocaine operation. And it was in full swing at that time. It's also interesting to note that this Lampe, Missouri operation is where the country music industry was more conveniently relocated, right there in Branson, so that it would be closer to Clinton's cocaine operations. Lampe, Missouri was a place where I heard George Bush and Bill Clinton talking, where from the point of view I had, they certainly were friends, and they didn't recognize any party lines between them. That's something for the, a smoke and mirrors illusion for the public. It's not something they adhere to, because they had exactly the same agenda, and that was for bringing in this new world order. I heard George Bush talking at that time. He was talking to Bill Clinton, and I've since photographically recorded it and wrote it verbatim in our book, that when the American people became disillusioned with Republicans leading them into the New World Order, that Bill Clinton, as a Democrat, was going to be put into the office of president. This was decided in 1984. Actually, I'd heard about it even prior to that. But that, as of 1984, they were already discussing it as an absolute fact. It was also discussed in the groundwork for NAFTA that by the time George Bush went into the office of president, that Salinas was going to become president of Mexico, and they together would be bringing in the NAFTA, which was the beginning of New World Order controls. I was forced to participate in the criminal groundwork for NAFTA, the opening of the Juarez-Mexican border to free trade of drugs, free trade of our nation's children. It's absolutely appalling, the criminal roots of NAFTA. Again, this is detailed in the book. But it's interesting to know that these political moves had already been decided way back when. And as I deprogrammed, and as I was, it was really something to me to find out people didn't know about this stuff. And it was so obvious to me. I didn't realize that people were unaware and had got into some kind of smoke and mirrors illusions of what was going on, and never thought to look behind the scenes to what was really going on. But I understand good people don't think that way. They don't have criminal minds. They don't think to look for that kind of criminal activity. Just like these guys are limited in their thinking by immorality, good people are kind of blinded from that kind of criminal activity until their eyes are open to truth. This criminal activity that was going on at that time. The people that were involved were following directions from George Bush. I don't purport to know it all. I don't purport to know that George Bush is at the very top of all this, but he is as high up as I knew. It was my experience that Ronald Reagan answered to George Bush, not robotically, not under mind control, but willingly, because George Bush was respected for what he knew about bringing in the New World Order. Consider his past. George Bush first began with the United Nations. Then he went on to head our CIA. Then he ran our country through 3 administrations that I'm aware of, the Reagan administration, his administration, and the Clinton administration, because Reagan and Clinton both answered to him. Mexican President de la Madrid answered to him and knew that Salinas was to be coming into power, and Salinas had more influence in Mexico at that time than de la Madrid, that as far as my experience was concerned. Also, Saudi Arabian King Fahd followed orders from George Bush, as did the Prime Minister of Canada, Brian Mulroney. In 1983, I heard Ronald Reagan and Brian Mulroney discussing the New World Order. Senator Byrd had acted in the capacity of a pimp and prostituted me to Reagan, and I was president of this White House cocktail party. Now, Ronald Reagan certainly provided a wonderful smoke and mirrors illusion for all of us. For those of you who don't want to believe that he's involved in this, he told you he's an actor. And he did a real good job of it for a long time. That was his role. That's what he was supposed to do. Nevertheless, I heard Ronald Reagan telling Brian Mulroney that he believed the only way to world peace was through mind control of the masses. I know from experience there's no peace of mind under mind control. And I wonder at a world peace where people don't have peace of mind. Mind control, the ramifications of mind control are far reaching, because I also know that under mind control, there's no free thought. Without free thought, there's no free will. Without God-given free will, there's no soul expression. What kind of a world peace can we have without any free will or any soul expression, without any spirituality? Mind control needs to be exposed in order that people maintain their freedom of thought, in order that people maintain their free will and have that spiritual expression, because of spirituality, when people have soul and spirituality, they're going to be acting in a capacity of love anyway. That is where world peace is, not mind control. By 1988, I'd been forced to participate in numerous operations against my will, all of which I certainly would never have done. I guess if I had had any part of me that was willing to do anything like that, mind control would not have been necessary. I'm appalled at what I was forced to participate in, but I am relieved that this information is getting out, that people are passing the book Transformation of America hand in hand, hand to hand, so that hand in hand we can take back our country. This information is information that you have a right to know and a need to know, and their controlled medias are not going to suppress truth. Truth prevails. In 1988, Mark rescued my daughter Kelly and I. We couldn't think to escape. I couldn't think to save my daughter any more than I could think to save myself. And all those childhood hopes and dreams were certainly hadn't come to fruition. When Mark rescued Kelly and I, we didn't have any ability to even hope for good people. We didn't know they even existed. We didn't have a capacity to trust anyone. It wasn't within our realm of experience. I couldn't think to reason that Mark was a good guy. But I'd seen him with his animals. And even though I didn't have any ability to consciously reason, and Kelly didn't have any ability to consciously reason things out or to think things out, we had this extra sense developed. We sensed things very strongly. After all, when you consider that we use 10% of our brain, we've been like blasted into other parts of our brain, and these parts of our brain were real perceptive on what's considered, I suppose, psychic levels by some definition. When we had a sense for things, kind of like the animals did. And we noticed that the animals loved Mark. He had these raccoons that he'd rescued. He had 3 raccoons, and they all loved him. And they hugged him, and they wrapped their arms around his neck, and they patted on his face and kissed him. And, that was really a neat thing for us to see, because we had only seen our animals abused. We lived on a farm. We had lived on a farm, and we had dogs and cats and horses and cows and guineas and chickens and all kinds of animals, all of which Alex Houston tortured or killed to keep us in line to, if we didn't do this, this would happen to our pet. And we loved our animals. Please bear this in mind, that people who abuse children oftentimes abuse animals. If you see someone abusing an animal, keep your eyes open, look further, make sure those kids are safe. I've never seen an exception to this rule. Not that there's not one out there somewhere, but I've never seen an exception to it. So it was very telling to us that these animals loved Mark. Additionally, when he came in and rescued us, here we were under the gun of the CIA. Everything was very precarious, to say the least. I was 30 years old. I was supposed to be killed, as most mind-controlled slaves are, at the age of 30. Besides, I was considered too old for sex by that time, so I was supposed to be wiped out. But Mark came in and rescued me from certain death, and rescued my daughter from a fate much worse than death, and took the time to rescue our animals. He packed up all those cows and horses and guineas and chickens and loaded them up on these different trailers and everything, and brought them to safety as well. This had a profound impact on Kelly and I. We certainly developed an ability to trust right there and then. Mark took us to the safety and serenity of Alaska. Since we were safe for the first time in our lives, experiencing love for the first time in our lives, memories of our past began flashing on our mind's screen. As these memories flashed, and I started to remember what had happened to me and to my daughter, particularly during the Reagan-Bush administration, I became enraged. I was enraged at what my daughter had been through, the tortures I'd endured, and what the plan was for humanity as a whole. I'd have been blinded by that rage, immobilized by that rage, if it weren't for Mark's wisdom in telling me that the best revenge is total recovery. Because through total recovery, by photographically recording all those events, I could expose these people for exactly what they are, for what their plans are, for what I've witnessed behind the New World Order. Be able to get help for my daughter, who was in desperate need of help at that particular time. So I began writing out my memories. By writing out my memories, I used a different part of my brain than verbalizing. It bypasses emotion. Bypassing emotion was very necessary for logically making the incomprehensible comprehensible, for understanding and grasping what had happened to us and what could be done with that information. Kelly was not so fortunate. Because of the harmonic programming that she'd endured, remembering
flame. Burn your bra, baby, baby, burn your bra. Mother baby's got the match to light the flame. Burn your bra, baby, baby, burn your bra. Mother baby's got the match to light the flame. Burn your bra, baby, baby, burn your bra. Mother baby's got the match to light the flame. In the garden of Eden, done our destiny. Up and down the Lord, make me leave the mercy. Ain't got no people about, they should not see. Rolling stars out, we're going up and down the street. Burn your bra, baby, baby, burn your bra. Mother baby's got the match to light the flame. Burn your bra, baby, baby, burn your bra. Mother baby's got the match to light the flame. Burn your bra, baby, baby, burn your bra. 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 Burn your bra, baby.
The traumas and deprogramming the program did not allow her access to all parts of her brain as it did me. She still needed some technological equipment to help her recover. She needed to actually have those neuron pathways vibrated back open with harmonic equipment. Therefore, she went into Humana Hospital in Anchorage, Alaska, in an intensive care unit. She suffered horribly at that time and responded only to some psychological intervention and not to any conventional medications. Kelly was actually suffering respiratory failure because mind control has advanced to the point where they know the ins and outs of the brain and the mind so well that they know how to program not only the subconscious, but to go into the primitive mind, the very area of our mind where blinking, breathing, and circulatory, heartbeat, all that is regulated. And they could go in there and put death programs in place. In my daughter's case, it was respiratory failure, so that in the event that she ever had cause to remember, which they never expected could happen.
Epstein.
But in espionage, that can happen. We've heard of that, where the brainwashing, where they have the memory access. So they wouldn't have to take the old cyanide pill anymore like they used to, like spies used to. Instead, they would just simply go into respiratory failure, circulatory failure, and no information would be released at all. There was no chance of the information getting out that way. Since my daughter was being raised was genetically and mind control, being brought up to be in espionage, she had that program in place and it went into effect. Because of the medical attention that she needed, she became quickly thrust into the illegal and immoral custody of the state of Tennessee, where she remains today. The violations of laws and rights that proliferated in her so-called legal case were extensive. We had one clean district attorney that went in and told the judge that he was violating constitutional rights and human rights in my daughter's case, and cited law after law after law, and the judge interrupted him and said, but laws do not apply in this case for reasons of national security. This certainly raises a question. What does national security have to do with a documented, validated, and proven rape and molestation of a child's mind and body? Kelly's sake, and the sake of so many other mind control survivors out there, we need to lift this veil of national security. We need to repeal the 1947 National Security Act. This is the national security that's threatening the security of our nation when it covers up such crimes against humanity as mind control, when it covers up the CIA's so-called war on drugs, when it covers up the selling out of our country to New World Order controls. That's a national security that has nothing to do with the security of our nation. This national security has kept information pertaining to mind control for all of you for far too long. We've got to get this information out. We've got to arm others with knowledge on mind control, because knowledge is our only defense against mind control. We need to get this information out in detail so that we can all be more effective in our particular areas of taking back our country and ultimately taking back our world for Kelly's sake, for the sake of all the other mind control survivors and victims that I know are out there. There's many, many of them. And for the sake of humanity as we know it. It is truth that sets us free. Please help us spread the word. Thank you.
Thank you all. Jonestown was an MK Ultra project, but now, and that's right out of the government printing office, right out of the FOIA. You can get this information just like I did, and you can look in the book, and you will see government headings from the Freedom of Information Act government printing office of various investigations done by Congress, the 93rd Congress, 95th Congress, and so on and so forth. And if you go to your library and access those under those headings, you will come up with this information. But let me give you a little information about Jonestown. In French Guiana, the property for Jonestown, the money came through a Mexico City bank, and it was traced directly to the Central Intelligence Agency. Jonestown was not a mind control project. Mind control had long since been perfected. Jonestown was a biological weapons project. And the worst part about this whole thing is there's two other projects twice the size that have been going on, that were going on in 1977, and they're still going on today. Now, that is very much reminiscent of the house of prostitution for little children that were being used in Washington, D.C. that you read about, and even in your, I won't call them newspapers anymore. Yeah, birdcage liners. Thank you. But
Pizzagate.
there was a house of prostitution that these congressmen were using, that was using little children in there. Well, nobody ever thought to ask, what happened to the little children that were being used? I'll tell you, they were moved right down the street, 2.5 blocks away, to 3 other houses of prostitution that still operate to this day.
It's interesting to note that Wayne Cox idolized Jim Jones. He also idolized Charles Manson. This is the same Wayne Cox that's down there in Chatham, Louisiana, an occult serial killer who is immune from prosecution right now. He's free for reasons of national security. What is the name of the Jesuit order you spoke about? I mentioned in the book that they referred to themselves, not only the Jesuits, but all of them at the top of this New World Order pyramid, as the Order of the Rose.
please discuss the connection between the New World Order and the dominant network media, for example, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Information control, folks, is mind control. Need I say more? What you hear and what you see is all you have to base your decisions upon. We're being brainwashed. Monarch and MK Ultra program started in 1953. You see, I don't know that. I didn't know that Monarch project started in 53. I'd be very interested in knowing how whoever wrote me this note knows that, if you want to speak to me later. Do you see any connections between government and Satanists? No, I see a direct correlation between satanic activity as well as blood traumas and other horrific types of abuse that is used as a part of their religious belief. But I don't downplay the subject of Satanism. It's just that when you say aliens did it, demons did it, I can't do anything about a demon. I can't do anything about an alien. I can do something about a human being that says they're a demon and says they're an alien. And you all can affect those kind of folks too. But I don't know of any way to go after a demon. And I don't know any way to go after an alien. And I'm not saying there's not aliens, and I'm not saying there's not demons. But I want to tell you all something. Every single patient up until about 1982 that was presented with dissociative identity disorder, or back in those days, MPD, or multiple personality disorder, was diagnosed with demons, and they went right off the edge. And if that didn't get them, how does that make you feel? Got them. Or your session is up. Got them. When they were right in the middle of an abreaction, that's re-experiencing the trauma. So the poor patient was either going to be subjected to a exorcism by a good intention, in most cases, a religious person, or an exorcism of sorts from their therapist, because they didn't have any other information. They didn't know what they were looking at. They didn't realize the brainstem was scarred, very much like they have multiple sclerosis, and that you can get people to retrain the brain right through the auditory, but you can't say, let me get that demon out, or, oh, gee, I hope the alien doesn't come get you tonight, because you're reinforcing program. So no, I'm not downplaying Satanism. I'm not downplaying any sort of religious belief. What I am downplaying is a belief that it's something other than human beings. I'll take one.
How much mind control is in the mass media? For example, last year there's no such thing as black helicopters. As of last month, everybody knows the military has black helicopters. Mind manipulation in the media is extensive, and they're controlling us by controlling our information, the same way that they're controlling children through the information that they're being fed in the school system. To answer another question, yes, it is in our school systems now, and the computers have actually been changed where the history has been altered, and people like Thomas Jefferson even left out of history in order that our children be brought up with socialistic values. So just as our children are being manipulated in the school system, all of us are being manipulated through the medias. We need to be especially careful that when trauma occurs in this country, that we're not losing any more of our freedoms, that our freedoms aren't eroding further, because they know that the traumatic effects on your mind are making you more susceptible and more suggestible and receptive to whatever controls they want to implement. So we need to be very alert to this and very aware of it.
Here's a good question. Are many FBI and CIA personnel under mind control? I've heard they are. These are incredibly good questions, y'all. And I'm going to answer this question the best way I know how. I don't personally know anybody under mind control working for the CIA or the FBI. I know a lot of them that are under information control. I do know this, that the CIA and the FBI recruits Mormons with favoritism who have just come off of their mission. Thank you. Now, these gentlemen are very receptive to taking orders. They are highly suggestible, and they are ones who I know are being manipulated. There is a disproportionate number of Mormons in both the FBI and the CIA. I do not find that to be an indictment of the Mormons. Matter of fact, we'll be in Salt Lake City speaking on the 13th of November, addressing a number of concerned Mormons because of this very subject.
Staying in the religious aspect here, what do you think of Linda Blood's book, The New Satanist? Could you talk about Michael Aquino and his MO? Yes, absolutely. Michael Aquino is a primary mind control programmer of mine. Linda Blood is
By the way, he's a litigant too. He sues everybody that ever talks about him,
including Linda Blood.
including Linda Blood, except us. Now, he got on national television and said, yeah, I know that, Mark Phillips. He is going to be the destruction of all organized religion in this country. Well, now there's an indictment.
Michael Aquino is the founder of the occult temple of Set that's proliferating on our military bases. He is with the Psychological Warfare Division.
Was
with the Psychological Warfare Division. Some of his power is eroding thanks to the exposure that he's getting through people like Linda Blood. And it was my experience with Michael Aquino that he does not believe in the power of Satan. He does not believe in spirituality at all. That's not a part of what he does. What he does believe in is the power of trauma on the human mind and the compartmentalization of memory through high voltage stun guns.
How does mind control work? Whoever asked me that question, I hope they bought a book. Smart people are able to see beyond mind control once they're controlled. Then it wouldn't be mind control. It'd be foot control or hand control or finger control or eye control.
There's no conscious thought.
There's no conscious awareness under mind control. You cannot think to get out of it. There's no reason to get out of it because you don't even think that you're being abused. You don't think. That's the simplest analogy I can give you. You are a reactionary robot. How do you get deprogrammed?
With love.
Well,
a lot of patience.
The modality for doing that is in our book. It's a 15-step one, and no therapist can legally do it. I can, and I'm not doing it anymore. How come the powers that be haven't killed either of you? Two reasons. How many people in here believe in God? All right. Those that have your hand up know half of the reason. The other reason is we followed a very careful
These are excellent questions.
They're all
Thank
excellent. Someone asked, considering the things you've seen, the places you've been, why are you still alive today? I can tell you from personal experience, even though I can't tell you all the places I've been, I wonder how I'm still alive today. But it remains a total mystery to me, and it always will. Now, her body bears the scars. She has some of the things that they can't take away, they can't deny. Like Mr. Byrd, if he were undressed before Congress and the nation, there are things he can't deny. And Mr. Cheney as well. But there are undeniable scars that this lady carries that are not on her mind. They're on her brainstem, all over her body, thousands of stun gun scars, and a vaginal mutilation that defies the worst horror story you can imagine. Now, those are things that people don't do to themselves. Now, I had a CIA boy who was pawning himself off as an enforcement officer with DEA, who was on assignment to U.S. Customs in Florida. That should have been a tip-off. He said, you know, the FBI believes she had that done to herself. I said, of course she did, with a pocket knife, moron. I said, how in the world would anybody even find anybody evil enough to do something like that? And I tracked it down. It's an ancient Egyptian practice taught to Michael Aquino. And I understand from her that he is alleged to be the one that told her handler, Alex Houston, how to use carving knives to do it. He bragged that he was a carver. He carved people.
Could you please elaborate on Ronald Reagan's involvement? Oh, yes, I could for a long time. I wish we had more time. Details are in the book.
I need to bring up Ronald Reagan's situation. A number of us, you know, I've got my wall in my office covered in invitations from Ronald Reagan, from George Bush, and some other presidents. One I don't even want to mention, that I was invited to dinners and inaugurations and all sorts of things through my relationships with people in the community and the State Department. When I heard this information, I wasn't shocked about Ronald Reagan, because when I was with Ampex Corporation in the early 70s, Ronald Reagan was governor of California, and he was in big trouble because he had encouraged a MK Ultra mind control experiment to be instituted in the Vacaville prison here in California. And it made the congressional record. And Ronald Reagan is the governor that was the only governor of any state in the United States that got caught instituting trauma-based, chemical-based frontal lobotomy and so on and so on and so on and so on, mind control in our prison systems. And now it is rampant. As a matter of fact, this is the one subject you can get more information out of Congress on than any of the rest of them. Is there any link between the homosexual prostitution ring found operating out of Barney Frank's a few years ago on your topic tonight? I can't say that I'm an authority on this, but I talked to a bunch of psychologists and psychiatrists, one of which was privy to some medical documentation on one of the children that came out of that, and the answer is 100% yes, it's connected. Let that go. How does remote viewing being done by various former military men such as Major Ed Daines and Courtney Brown compare with your mind control? It's all under the guise of MK Ultra. Remote viewing, anything. I was part of the Duke studies in 1967 and 68, working with the paranormal. Most of the people I saw were at that time Soviet origin. As a matter of fact, I didn't know we had a Cold War going on. I really didn't. I mean, there was a huge exchange of information. I was constantly sitting down at the table with KGB agents, and they were identified as such and handed me cards. Cards. KGB handing out cards. I couldn't even understand. The first time somebody handed me a card, I said, well, this is the end of me. He said, do you have a card?
Who is Kelly's father? That's the several times. Wayne Cox was Kelly's father. He was her father because genetically they wanted her to have the capacity to be able to kill because she was being brought up in espionage for those kind of purposes. But it's interesting to note, I think David Icke, a dear friend of ours, stated it eloquently that just as knowledge is neither good nor bad, it depends who has control of it. By the same token, genetics, for as powerful of an influence they are not stronger than the human spirit. Kelly's soul is just so beautiful, and her loving capacity is enormous, and the love that she operates from is extensive. And she wants this information out for humanity's sake. So in spite of the genetics of who Kelly's father is, she's absolutely a beautiful, beautiful child.
How did you get the number of operatives in this country? Ask me that question. Who did it? I got the answer to that three ways. There's a catalog company called Budapest out of Washington that's a catalog of spy books, and ours will soon be in it, hopefully. And there's a number of books in there. I can't remember the title now. But the New York Times also reads that catalog and orders those books. They're done by Stockwell and every other name you can imagine. Philip Agee. And Philip Agee, I don't have a lot of respect for at all, except for one thing. George Bush stood up on national television and said he hated him more than any man on earth. I just couldn't help but love the guy.
You say in your book that mind-controlled slaves were permitted any drug except marijuana. Why? It's an excellent question. The effects of marijuana on the brain are not conducive to mind control.
It doesn't mean you can't be traumatized and put under mind control. It just means it screws up the programming.
Because it actually opens neuron pathways in the brain. It expands thought. I'm not going to stand here and speak pro-marijuana because... No, because somebody be putting it in my car and popping me for it. But I am anti-marijuana because we see all these ads on TV and everything, and even Dole and Clinton in their campaigns are saying, what's it Dole said, guns, violence, and marijuana, as if it's so violent because it is not conducive to mind control. They want it off the streets more than they want their drugs, like cocaine, off the street. Marijuana is especially targeted. I don't promote the use of marijuana as a Band-Aid for mind control because, again, knowledge is our only defense against it.
Tell us about the congressmen and women who are helping you. Yeah, right. I'll tell you one. Bob Clement. I grew up with him. Matter of fact, when his father was governor, I used to go up with him, and I remember I was highly traumatized by something I saw at the governor's mansion, which I'm not going to tell on Bob because it didn't have anything to do with him. But we've got a number of clean congressmen and congresswomen that are helping us from behind the scenes. That's part of that 50% equation that we're still here. The information that we released to every member in Congress at the same time. And I had 4 congressmen, one in particular, hand carrying every one of these packets to the respective congresswoman or congressman. That took a lot of effort on their behalf and a lot of nerve, since at that time I did not have all that information validated, but they had received information from members of the Justice Department and from U.S. Customs that Kathy O'Brien was a valid case, and that they were able to validate more than half of what was in that packet. George Bush was handed a packet, and George Bush, he nasty with me. He said I threatened his life, which is farther saying the truth, because the congressman that delivered it happened to have been a lawyer, as most of them are, unfortunately. And he had read the stuff, and they were trying every way on earth to indict me for everything you can imagine. But the bottom line was this particular congressman said that he'd wear a sandwich sign before the news media if that was going to be the case. So the FBI and the Justice Department just humiliated me, made me come in and get my fingerprint. I said, "You guys got my fingerprints more times than a criminal." I said, I work for the community. I work for the Defense Department. I said, well, I don't get it. What, you just need a fresh picture when you see my mother?
Pay special attention to those members of Congress who believe that you have a right to information. There's an ongoing effort right now to repeal the 1947 National Security Act because they know that you need this information.
So it would switch to 00 in 2000. Yeah, golly, you got a good brain. Yeah, I don't have that good of a memory, but yeah, he
needs to follow your format, how to research things. Well, he doesn't have to follow my format, but he needs to verify things before he puts them out on the air. I mean, that's just common sense. And you know what I think? I think a lot of his callers are working for the enemy. It seems and if he's, way. I don't know who he's representing. Yeah, if he's not working with them, then he sure is being duped by them, isn't he? Yes, and this United Nations, these vehicles down in Austin and wherever he's talking about, I think it's so far-fetched that there's no real evidence about, them being in place. Well, there are some United Nations vehicles in the United States of America. I don't know what they're doing here. I think some of them are made here and purchased here and on the way to be shipped wherever they're going. I think some are here because our troops function as United Nations troops in some instances. And I think they've got them everywhere. But he makes it seem like they're going to be deployed with forces Well, they may be at some time in the future, but he doesn't know that.
Yeah.
It's just like all these Russian troops and communist troops that he says are inside the United States in the national forest practicing. They're not there. He says the Canadian military and the Mexican military are getting ready to invade the United States from both of our borders. It's not true. It's a lie. Not true. It's a lie.
You know, I have a theory about all of this, all these statements made about how there's going to be an invasion on this country. And I really don't believe that they would destroy the infrastructure. They would have to rebuild it back up.
Well, I don't know. I know they do want a totalitarian socialist new world order. And if they don't succeed in getting the guns out of the hands of the American people, they're never going to have it. It's not going to happen.
Well, I don't think they'll do it by destroying. I think they'll probably do it by gassing us.
Well, I don't know. That's conjecture.
Yeah.
See, that's something you might hear on the Alex Jones show. I think that would be the easy way to do it, but I don't know that that's what they're going to do.
I have a comment.
Well, wait a minute. I got to let some other people in here because we're running up to the end of the hour.
Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
I'm not trying to cut you off early or anything. I just want to get as many people in here as possible that may want to call. 520-333-4578 is the number. Good evening. You're on the air.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Mr. Cooper. This is Virginia in Texas.
Hi.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, you just mentioned there about those people calling in. I have thought the very things myself these last few days, and tonight you mentioned about what they were working for somebody else, and I also believe that this is sensationalism, and the thought coming to me that maybe these people have been put on the air to be as ridiculous and as sensational as to ruin it for the true ones that are trying to get the word out to the people.
I've said that many, many times.
Oh, you did?
That it discredits the entire Patriot movement. Can you believe somebody who's really got a brain and knows how to think, listening to this stuff?
No, I missed that New Year's Eve. I should have.
Well, it goes on every day.
Yeah, I do listen.
It goes on literally every day.
Yeah.
And people who know how to think and have a brain that listen to it, blame all of us. They say patriots are a bunch of nuts.
Yeah.
They're crazy.
Yeah, you've really jarred my brain tonight on this, thinking about it, just kind of listening to it, nonchalant, not even really thinking. But there's an awful lot of liars out there too on other programs.
Yeah, I'm not accusing Alex Jones of being an agent. Although he does accuse me of being an agent because I'm doing this. But I will say this: if he's not an agent, he's being duped.
Yes, and I would think, with the intelligence that some of them profess, that they would catch on, or that there's been times when people have called in.
Not really. I used to be a young man. Alex Jones is only about 25 years old.
Yes,
When I was 25 years old, I thought I knew everything. I didn't know anything. message of help instead of like bringing all this bad news. Like tell people what they can do to help themselves.
Yeah. You know what they're doing now? All of these people, instead of admitting they were wrong about Y2K, now they're pulling out every newspaper article that they never would have paid any attention before, just normal everyday things that always happen, and they're blaming it all on Y2K.
Of course.
And they're saying the worst is yet to come. You still got to keep buying this stuff, folks. You still got to keep buying this. Keep sending us your money, folks. My God, if you're not scared now, tune in tomorrow. We'll scare you some more.
You know, because I have an associate that's a FBI agent, and he was on call that night, not for any enforcement or anything, just to protect their own assets, because he works for the Postal Division, and they just wander around to make sure nothing would just get out of hand from these crazy people to damage their property.
That's right.
I mean, he was home by 12:15 after midnight. You know, nothing happened. He said, okay, you can go home now.
They were expecting the people like what you've heard tonight to whip people up into a hysteria to do bad things.
Right.
And they almost did.
I know.
They were also in other words, some people in government were working with these people to try to make it happen.
Right.
And you'll hear that tomorrow night.
Okay, I'll get off so the people can call in.
Thanks for calling.
Take care, Bill.
520-333-4578 is the number. Yeah, folks. You see, sometimes you get mad at me because I won't let you call in and say certain things on this broadcast. That's why. I just will not allow it. Period. Good evening. You're on the air.
Oh, hi, Bill.
Hi.
Boy, exciting broadcast from Jones there. 4,000 missiles could be in the air. So be calm.
Get you all worked up, did it?
No.
I'll tell you what, when I was listening to it on New Year's Eve, after his show was over, well, he was on Stat Miller's show saying the same stuff. Then he was on the Midas Report. He was on Gerner. He was on all of them. And after a while, I felt the adrenaline starting to, and I know better. I mean, if you listen to this stuff long enough, it will work you up into hysteria. I don't care who you are. It will do it.
Yeah, it could have been a War of the Worlds attempt. I'm kind of glad.
Yeah, wait till you hear it tomorrow night. You'll know for sure.
Well, I'm kind of glad a bunch of people didn't fall for it.
Well, some people did. Only they didn't fall for it, I think, in the way that they wanted them to. They didn't get mad at the government and go out and start burning government buildings and looting and raping and pillaging and all that kind of stuff. Instead, they packed up their cars with their family and their food storage, and they headed for the hills to get out of the cities because they thought atomic bombs were coming down. But you'll hear that tomorrow night.
Oh, your chat room last night, the hour at a time. Boy, we had a good crowd in it.
Well, great. That's wonderful. I'm glad that people are using it again.
Well, you know where it is. But
No,
I was wondering if there's a limit on people that can log on to.
I have absolutely no idea. I didn't even set it up. A friend of mine.
Oh, I mean on the WBCQ Listen Live.
Yeah, I'm sure there is, but I don't know how many it is. And Scott Becker is expanding the capability because it's already packed. I mean, packed. We're in this time slot on the internet. We're the #1 talk show that there is on the internet anywhere.
Well, this is the missus's night. She's got what she listens to on Wednesday, but I get you the rest of the week.
Okay. Well, she can have Wednesday. All right.
After the Egyptian flight 990 went down, all the people were talking that, geez, this pilot just seemed like such a stable man, and everything else. I emailed the Egyptian embassy and told them that they should check out your website about the remote mind control.
Oh, good.
And, as a possibility for what happened to their pilot. And the news, I mean, within 48 hours on that story ceased. And I don't know if you've got the means to see, who checks your website.
Oh yeah,
it might be interesting to see if the Egyptian embassy did have a look at it.
I really don't know. I'll tell you, every agency in the government is there every day.
Oh,
I'm your day.
Sure. Well, for people that use your chat room, this is Skunk. And
okay, so I got to let you go.
See you in there.
520-33457 again, and they're back in For all of those of you members of the members forum, or two, and you'll all get it with your password, and so that you can get in there. So you haven't lost out on anything. Good evening. You're on the.
Hi, Mr. Cooper. I'm down here in Texas, and I was just wondering. Sometimes I'll turn the radio on early, and Brother Stair's show is on for 4 years, and he'll be coming in quite a bit at a higher resolution, a lot clearer. And then when your program comes off, it starts really dropping off, and then he comes back on again, and it comes back up.
Well, believe me, Alan Weiner is not doing anything to cut back the power during this broadcast.
I've wondered about that.
No, he's not. But there are ways that electronic means to make it seem like the power is cut back. Sometimes it's just normal propagation, and sometimes it's intentional jamming, like VOA. If you get two stations broadcasting on the same frequency,
there's one a little above you that's doing that. 7520.
Yeah. Okay.
But people like Alex Jones and these guys that are spewing off like that's criminal. And
well, at the very least, it's irresponsible.
Yeah, I don't know. Someone has told me that over in England that if there was a fellow like Alex Jones on the radio in England,
he'd be in prison.
He would be locked up in prison.
Yeah, absolutely.
They would throw the key away.
Yeah, everybody thinks the English are free. They're not free. We are the only people in the entire world who have ever been free, and even with the freedoms that we've lost and the encroaching tyranny of government, in many cases just out and out tyranny, we're still the freest people on the face of this earth. But we will only remain free as long as we keep our guns.
Right.
The minute they take all our guns away, freedom is gone forever.
Well, the only other people that have any degree of freedom or freedom of movement are people who have gotten wealthy or have inherited wealth in other countries that allows them a degree of
they can buy things.
Yeah, they can buy their freedom.
Yeah,
they have to buy their freedom. That's a thing a lot of people don't seem to understand.
Money talks.
Huh? Yeah.
Money talks.
But I mean, here in this country, we started out in the premise that nobody had to buy their freedom to be free.
Well, you still don't. But see, people have given up the study of the law.
Yeah.
If you read the early accounts in the history of this country, you'll never find any man walking into a court with a lawyer by his side. He represented himself.
Right.
And that's the first tenet in the law anyway. First, you must claim your freedom. Second, you must defend them. And you're the only one who can. You walk into court with a lawyer. That was a Freudian slip. I really didn't mean to say that.
I'm a Freud.
If you walk into court with a lawyer by your side, you have declared yourself legally incompetent.
Yeah.
And the lawyer becomes your guardian, and he is an officer of the court. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Gotta let you go. Thanks for calling.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good night. 520-333-4578 is the number. Yep, folks, if you depend upon a lawyer, you'll lose an awful lot. If you represent yourself, if you understand the law, and you don't have to go to law school to do that. You just have to be able to devote some time to it and study and do some research. Then you can win. Oh, you'll be amazed at how often you can win. Good evening. You're on the air.
Yes, Mr. Cooper. This is Danny from Texas.
Hi, Danny.
And I want to thank you for being out there in this information war, as he calls it. It's very interesting because I heard everything that happened, and I know what you're going to be playing tomorrow.
Okay.
And wait till they get a load of it.
Yeah, it's going to shock some people who didn't hear it. It's really scary. He calls it an information war, and he's absolutely right, except, he's waging war against the rest of us.
I think so, sir. And I've been down there, and I've met him once. And I've met Mike Hansen once. And I posted some pictures on some little clubs off in Yahoo. But thing is, keep up the good work, sir, and the truth will come out, I guarantee you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for calling. I think we could maybe one more call. We'll try it. We'll try one more call, and then that's it. 520-333-45. Well, no, we can't. Out of time. The clock just ticked over. Good night, folks. God bless each and every single one of you. Don't miss tomorrow night's episode of The Hour of the Time. I guarantee you it'll be worth every minute of it. Good night, Annie, Pooh, and Allison. I love you. Miss you just absolutely terribly. You're listening to the Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Well, some strange things have been happening. Our web servers for our internet broadcast were hacked and taken down. And we had trace routers in place, and so we know who did it. Our website, WilliamCooper.net, was also hacked, and they attempted to take it down, but our security measures there prevented them from doing it. We also had trace routers running there, and we can identify
Night flutter stuff. Sweet dreams. Don't let the bed bugs bite.
anybody who ever visits the website and exactly what they do. And without cookies or anything else, it's just a security thing that we have to prevent people from really screwing around with us. The only thing that happened with the website is they actively and actually did prevent us from uploading any new pages or updating any pages for a while, and until we were able to discover what they had put on the server to cause it to do that, and eliminate it. The trace routes are very revealing, ladies and gentlemen. They lead to two different places. One place is Austin, Texas. Isn't that a coincidence with the series we're doing here now, and with the fact that Alex Jones has bragged on many occasions that he lives in the Silicon Valley of Texas, that Austin is the Silicon Valley of Texas, and that he has friends that can hack into anything. He's made those statements openly on the air. The second place was the Department of Defense. So there's two groups of people who were very actively interested in stopping people from hearing the series that we've been doing over the last couple of days, and the final one tonight. We have security measures in tonight. It's going to be very hard to take down the web servers that are broadcasting the Hour of the Time, but they may try. Tonight is going to open your eyes. It's going to reveal something to you that is just absolutely astounding, along with the fact that they tried to stop us from broadcasting this information on the web, and have been jamming this frequency for the last two nights. We have also, through our friends who are ham operators who have radio direction finders, traced the jamming directly to military installations. And the fact that they tried to hack into our website and shut it down tells a pretty big story about the importance of what you're going to hear tonight. So sit back, get comfortable, pay attention. This is going to literally blow your mind.
Cash machines are failing in Britain and now other European countries. They're finding large amounts of explosives in France. Vladimir Putin, who is known as Vladimir the Ruthless, and using all his profanity on national TV, you name it, we won't read the profanity here, but we've got it. This person is on an unbelievable power trip and resembles a demon. He is a creature of the IMF and the World Bank and international communism. He is a former KGB head. And this information is vital, ladies and gentlemen. We are seeing the New World Order really come out in full force. More wars than have been in the last 50 years are going on right now. The war in Chechnya is raging in Grozny with reports of hundreds of thousands dying, 20 to 40,000 civilians trapped in the city. Russian Hinds are being shot down. Tanks are being blown to bits. Massive Grad unguided rocket attacks are being launched from the city indiscriminately right now. Air and artillery bombardments as well. It's absolutely out of control. It is pandemic, ladies and gentlemen. I'll give you the news first on Y2K. The newest developments: the Pennsylvania nuclear plant has been shut down. One of the main systems transferring the power from it failed, but they say it's not a Y2K problem. And the things I'm experiencing here in Austin, Texas, the shelves are empty of water and some gas stations are running out of fuel. Here in Central Texas and in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the shortwave is basically down, ladies and gentlemen. Went off right as I went on the air. The big news on Y2K. Then we'll start going to your calls. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. All right, let's go ahead and get to this article. Associated Press. This came out at 7:22 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today, December 31st, 1999, Pennsylvania nuclear plant shut down. One of the two nuclear reactors at PECO Energy Co's Limerick Generating Station has shut down this morning after a piece of equipment failed. Company spokesman Neil McDermott said the problem was not Y2K related. It was declared an unusual event, the least serious emergency classification of a nuclear power plant. They got to have a serious emergency to shut down a plant, ladies and gentlemen. You power one down, you're not going to power it up for at least days. It was declared an unusual event. At 2:55 a.m., shutdown occurred when an insulator on the main generator transformer from Limerick 2 failed. We had reports yesterday of this. Off the record, I would not report it, but I had it from a good source that this plant was having problems along with 4 other plants. I may just go ahead and report it here. Boy, do we get good information here. This has been going on for days. From our information, it is not this transformer that they're talking about. They wouldn't just shut a plant down over that. Something serious may be going on there. So that the central government, known as the federal government, the occupational government in Washington, D.C., has set up a huge $50 million command bunker hooked into all the FEMA boxes that can take over all the shortwave broadcast and commercial AM and FM stations, as well as television broadcast stations. And we hope they do not activate that, ladies and gentlemen. Police and military are on high alert, running around looking for supposed boogeymen and terrorists under every rock. Military are highly visible now. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there are trains of military equipment moving into Austin. 2 nights ago, on Wednesday night, Fox News reported that the airport will be used as a massive holding facility for troublemakers or rioters here in Austin that has no history of riots. They need to get that country locked down so they can stage the election for Vladimir Putin. I mean, this guy is a demon. Have you seen this guy and just how he's raging with power? I'm Alex Jones. I'm your host. I'm just one of the great hosts here on the GCN radio network, and I've been very passionate today because I can't even keep track of all the developing news that's coming in. I'm not going to get into I'm not even going to say it's 6 to 7 reactors across the country. I'm not even going to, it's bad. And I got this news about the Pennsylvania plant early yesterday, got it again off air, confirmed it with someone that is 99% accurate, not like I am, trying to report the truth. And now I've got the Associated Press saying, well, they shut the whole plant down, but they call it an unusual event, the least serious emergency classification of a nuclear power plant. Well, it's got to be pretty bad for them to power a plant down.
Time is getting shorter until Y2K. If you want to be sure your family and loved ones will weather the potential Y2K storm of delays, shortages, or interruptions of services, then now is the time to stock up on emergency supplies and a home food reserve.
As the developments move forward with this Y2K and this gear up for clamping down America and Russia and around the world by globalist forces, we'll be bringing you the news as long as we're here on the air. Now pretty much dictator and controller of Russia publicly, and here in America they're gearing up and bracing for terrorism and militarizing everything in front of us. So it's happening there, it's happening here. There they're using the war with Chechnya. Here they're using Y2K and the threat of terrorism. Oh, this is extremely serious. 2 weeks ago, Topol M, 6,200 mile super range, multiple warhead, newest design U.S. clone technology missiles were deployed across Russia. They're mobile. These are first strike type systems. They're also designed to survive several strikes from America or any other nation. They're deploying these, and Yeltsin openly has been threatening us weekly to nuke us. I mean, it's just getting insane. And absolutely, this looks like just one more ratchet on the takeover of America. And yes, they have an extreme strongman in KGB leader running Russia right now. They have deployed their missiles against us and their submarines and have already delivered. Absolutely, this looks like just one more ratchet on the takeover of America. And yes, they have an extreme strongman in KGB leader running Russia right now. They have deployed their missiles against us and their submarines and have already delivered fully functional missile cruisers to China. Yes, he took the codes off and he took away our first strike capability. By first strike, that means if missiles are in the air, let's say 4,000 of them. Russians have got a lot more than that.
Right.
4,000 missiles coming in, subs launching, suitcases going off. We have to wait until we absorb the first strike that will mean virtual annihilation to our military. Brass, I know you're CFR. You've been told you'll be able to be in the bunker if they go to this level. I don't know if they'll do it. It may just be ratcheting down the global system. All I know is this: Boris Yeltsin, at 4 o'clock in the morning, as the Russian time zone in its eastern area near Japan was entering into Y2K, he resigned, and now Vladimir Putin, known as Vladimir the Ruthless by the Russian people, is now taken the reins of power, supreme power in Russia, and he is a former KGB chief.
There's something else I want to tell you, Alex.
Well, hold on just a second.
Okay.
I mean, this is extremely serious. Again, I was getting this information, what you just said 2 days ago, and I got it even more. I ignored it then I got it yesterday, and now it's in the Associated Press that in Pennsylvania, where you're calling from, in the city you're calling from, one of 2 nuclear reactors at PECO's Energy Co. Limerick Generating Station was shut down this morning after a piece of equipment failed. They're saying it's non-Y2K related. This is just unbelievable.
One other thing, I heard Bo Grice say this morning that Russia said if their power goes out, that they're going to blame us and they're going to set off their nuclear warheads.
Well, I didn't hear that, but I would be interested to have any details. Do you have the details of what Colonel Grice said?
No, that's all I heard him say was that they said if they had a power blackout, they'd blame it on us.
I know they're threatening to nuke us every single week. I've read the Associated Press, Reuters, Interfax News Agency, London Times articles here. I mean, I read Yeltsin and Jiang Zemin's quotes, the dictator of China, and they're saying we'll nuke you. I mean, they spell it out. We will hit you with nuclear weapons. We reserve the right to hit you. 3 weeks ago, their head of their missile forces said we reserve the right to nuke you first. Their currency is plunging. The Egyptian pound is plunging against the dollar, the Japanese yen, the Deutsche mark, and just all of it. It's and the same thing is starting to develop here in America. Many of the gas stations here in Austin have the little gloves over the pumps saying they're out of fuel. You never see this in Austin, Texas. Right here in South Austin, I've seen several stations. We don't know if this is just a Y2K that was here. Just bizarre behavior. Americans standing up as Russia threatens to attack us with nuclear weapons, as nuclear power plants, at least one, are being shut down, as the military runs around with the police and the FBI saying terrorism is imminent. And some would characterize us as dangerous because we report the facts. Absolutely out of control. Just maintain your readiness, be calm, defend your family, defend your country, but doing a fabulous job. He is consulting with people that he knows personally, a lot of former military people that now own radio companies. And in fact, I'm not even going to say who the individual is. I'm sure he can call in publicly. I just don't want to give a lot of folks' names out on the air. They have activated a powerful Cold War radar system in the North Pole region. That is something that is grounding out shortwave. The entire 9400 band, all throughout the 9.4000 up to 9. I mean, military traffic is everywhere right now, ladies and gentlemen. Scrambled. We've got superpower radar systems, nuclear systems up. And perhaps our military has refused. It was Clinton that shut down that Cold War radar system. It's now back up from people that actually worked in there. We have it confirmed from the sound and where it's coming from experts. Fresno, where our servers are located, is in the middle of a blackout. Ladies and gentlemen, we're off the internet. This is just absolutely out of control. That's why the commercial stations are so important. More information coming at you on the other side as Y2K develops.
Many of you have been preparing for the worst of times, putting away storable foods and water. While this makes perfect sense, we at Midas Resources urge you to consider the possibility of having to flee for your lives. Though the very prospect of this sounds grim, the possibilities are more than remote. Asian countries now having long-range nuclear bombs, a politically unstable Russia, and an increasing presence of NATO here on U.S. soils could spark a ground war on the West.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups, You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Bringing you continuing, unfiltered, unabashed reality. I am Alex Jones. I am your host.
From his Central Texas Command Center, deep behind enemy lines, the information war continues. And now, back to Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
All right, commercial stations, if you're just now joining us after your news, for the micros out there, everybody else, America is under siege right now. They have put up so much chaos and so many smoke screens, I don't even know exactly what's going to happen, and I've always been good at analysis. We know at least one nuclear power plant in Pennsylvania has been shut down, according to the Associated Press. I was told a completely different story yesterday off air by a good source that this plant had already been shut down. They're now telling us it happened early this morning at 2:55 a.m. Eastern time. Egypt's having basic runs on their banks, according to the information I have. The AP's got a whitewash of it, but their president, Hosni Mubarak, are telling people to maintain calm. Fresno, California, where our internet servers are down. The power is off in the city. Serious developments, cash machines, ATMs, credit card machines having problems in Europe.
She called frantically yesterday saying, don't want you to leave Harrison, Arkansas. My girlfriend works there. I don't want you to leave. I don't want you to leave. They got martial law signs. We just found out down at the Arkansas Highway Transportation Department. And we said, well, we thought at first she had probably seen your tape because she's got her head in the sand. And yesterday, up and down Highway 65, I was seeing Arkansas Highway Transportation Department vehicles all over the place, and have been seeing them ever since the 28th. And this girl here just does not believe in that stuff now. She's totally going nuts over it.
So you've known this person for a long time, and she was a doubting Thomas, and now she claims she has personally seen the martial law signs.
She has it, but her friend that works for the Arkansas Highway Transportation Department called and told her they just delivered them. Now, we go up and down the highway a lot, and it looks kind of spooky, you know.
I hear you, sir. Hey, right here in Austin, Texas, they've announced that it's a basic concentration camp at Robert Mueller Airport. Anybody that lives in Central Texas, go take a look at it. Former military officer and former police officer, retired gentleman that owns, well, let's just say a company. He does services for the military. I've known the guy for years, upstanding individual, happily married Christian man. He told me 2 nights ago that he was out at Fort Hood during the day doing work, where I know he is routinely the largest army base that America has. And there were giant trains, just long lines of trains, the flat cars loaded with APCs and LAVs. That's armored personnel carriers and light armored vehicles. The Marine type, just all over the place. They have flatbed trailers. They have large cattle trailer type situations, navy blue or black, lined up. You can tell, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a little bit excited here today and trying to maintain my calm.
Yeah, they're turning the heat up on this thing now, and it's at warp 10, Alex. And reason I called in today, I got another confirmation real early this morning. In fact, before the sun even come up, a gentleman called me out of Michigan about the power plant situation, what we were talking about yesterday out in western Kentucky. Well, he called me about a power plant up in Michigan. Exactly. And this one here, one of the ones in Michigan, this one that's in question here that I'm talking about, we have confirmation when given the order, they will shut this one down. And that newspaper article that you were talking about that nuclear plant in Pennsylvania, they can't shut them things down overnight, Alex.
Yesterday I got it from other individuals. I'm not going to, but now they admit it's got a problem. They say it's not Y2K related. They've just shut it down. And you're right. They have to shut these things down over a period of time.
Now is not the time for somebody to go do something stupid. Now's the time to kick back in front of the fireplace or campfire or whatever. Tell a few Bill and Monica jokes and sit back and wait and watch what they do, because until you know what they do, you don't know how to react. And if somebody goes off and does something stupid, it's going to run it for the whole country.
And if you haven't gotten your supply of potassium iodide,
now's the time to kick back in front of the fireplace or campfire or whatever. Tell a few Bill and Monica jokes and sit back and wait and watch what they do, because until you know what they do, you don't know how to react. And if somebody goes off and does something stupid, it's going to run it for the whole country.
And if you haven't gotten your supply of potassium iodine. I think that's the correct technical term. I've got several bottles of it. That's what they issue the military, and they used to issue people in this country with civil defense in case of Russian nuclear attack. Definitely is the time now to get that. But I know this. The Russians have been threatening to nuke us publicly to their people, hyping them up against us, deploying their missiles against us, saying they reserve the right to strike first. Clinton then responds, well, we will not strike until we've already been hit. We will not survive a total all-out first strike.
I don't think so. If we do, it'll be very, very few.
Well, I'm sitting right here in Austin, the middle of a major city center. You could say bye-bye to Alex Jones if we get hit. This is the Silicon Hills of Texas. He's president. He's over the Duma, the Kremlin, the whole 9 yards. Toll-free number. Are you having power outages in your area? Are you experiencing troubles? Are you out of gasoline? Are you out of water in your grocery stores like we are by and large here in Austin, Texas? Power in Fresno is off in the downtown city area where we have a microwave relay tower hooked into to the huge server that runs our systems. And one of the worst developments on top of Russia threatening to nuke us now and their new militarized posture with China against us, and both their presidents threatening us, President Boris Yeltsin resigned at 4 o'clock Central Standard Time this morning, and Vladimir Putin, known as Vladimir the Ruthless, stepped into the reins of power.
The Russians for the past 10 years have been building bunkers and supposedly...
Well, it was in the New York Times last year that they're building the biggest bunker known to man in the Ural Mountains.
Right.
I believe that's the mountain.
Supposedly they can accommodate their entire population. I don't know if that's...
Well, I know this. Back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, they were building bunkers for Americans. They were storing them with food. They were training children against the threat that was created by the bankers. And in the last 20 years or so, 30 years, they stopped the education of people in the public schools and the private schools. And now, your designated nuclear fallout shelter in any major city, you can see the signs if you look carefully enough. There'll be like a small, about 10 inches long, 8 inches tall, little sign will say nuclear fallout shelter will be a parking garage. So they can move in later and pull out all the rotten skeletons after they emerge from the Switzerland, where they have total gun rights and incredibly low crime. I guess the elite likes a home to themselves that's safe. They have giant underground bases stocked for 2 years with recreation courts and the whole 9 yards deep underground for the entire population. Here it is right here. I got 50 articles. Let me read it to you. It's Pennsylvania nuclear plant shut down. The Associated Press, Friday, December 31st. It's up on my website, Infowars.com. My site's up, isn't it?
I don't know.
I'm a little bit paranoid right now. The Associated Press, Friday, December 31st, 1999, 7:22 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the first to break the story. One of the 2 nuclear reactors at PECO's Energy Co.'s Limerick Generating Station was shut down this morning after a piece of equipment failed. Company spokesman, big Y2K rollover. We've got nuclear power plant problems in PA, shutdowns. We had power outages out in Fresno, California that knocked our internet off for about 4 hours. That's back up.
Hi, Alex. I've just been listening to your show, and I've got a few questions about what you've been talking about today. What's with this Russia threatening to nuke us?
Oh my gosh. Are you online? Do you have a computer?
No, I'm not online. I've been listening to you.
Well, I mean, I could go pull them off in my archives, even in my main page, in subpages, more news sections. There are literally, I mean, every week I've been reading 2 or 3 articles where Jiang Zemin in China is threatening to nuke us. Yeltsin has been threatening to nuke us every week until he resigned at 4 o'clock Central Time this morning. They have deployed their Topolin missiles 2.5 weeks ago against us, long range, 6,200-mile intercontinental ballistics, the newest design with U.S. clone technology.
aliens that came to Earth in the ancient times told the people they were gods. Generally, they helped them, but they deceived them, they lied. I'm not capable of telling what's a lie and what's a deception. And I still believe in God. I still believe in Jesus. I'm a devout Christian. But I know that much of what is in the Bible is of alien origin because I have done my research, and it is without a doubt that much of our religious history is alien manipulation. I still believe in God. I still believe in Jesus Christ. I am still a Christian, hanging on to my faith. Because I believe that they have used God. Off of Hawaii, where it still is today. Some of the information is based upon research derived from the information that I saw. For instance, in the documents that I saw, it was stated that President Eisenhower had commissioned a group called the Jason Scholars, which was stated to have been a secret society of scholars, to research the deception, lies, facts, truth, and get at the root and the real truth of the alien question. It also stated that there was a group of 12 men formed by NSC Memo 5410, and that the study group was formed by NSC Memo 5411. And that there was another NSC memo issued to cover the actions of these men and explain the reasons why such prominent men were meeting on a regular basis. And that NSC memo was 5412/1 and 5412/2. 5412/1 was implemented in March of 1955, 5412/2 in November of 1955. Anyone who knows how correspondence, executive orders, and executive memos are written knows that you do not write a memo. The memo was originally really written in 1950.
Bye.